Well, hello, I'm Stephanie Priester, the Jazz Report on behalf of the South Carolina Women in Leadership. I'm so excited again to be able to introduce to you one of the amazing speakers that's going to bring some information regarding Census 2020. Sabrina Reeder has been named as the Coalition Coordinator for the Greenville County Complete Count Coalition for the 2020 Census. The coalition connects the many organizations and individuals working to get a complete count of the Greenville County resident for this year's census. Sabrina brings a wealth of experience from a private, public, and nonprofit sectors to her role as the coalition coordinator. She most recently served as the program implementation manager for the OB Hospitalist Group. So for several years, Sabrina was an on-air personality and media relations specialist with the Greenville-based television network WASV UPN 62. She has worked with the HR recruiting firms, Pepperdine University, and in California school districts. Sabrina has a Bachelor of Science in Broadcast Journalism from the Florida A&M University and has additional certifications in public relations and project management. Her skills in PR, human resources, event development, and project management make her well suited to lead Greenville County's Complete Count Coalition. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Sabrina Reeder.
Hi, thank you so much for that introduction, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm hoping that at the end of my presentation, I have shed some light on the importance of Census 2020 and most importantly, the significance of our participation in it. As project coordinator for GC4, which is simply a brief abbreviation of Greenville County Complete Count Coalition, I coined that term simply because I knew I was going to forget one of those important words. So GC4 is our abbreviation. We are comprised of various committees. So the coalition is basically an umbrella. And then the various committees are composed of organizations that primarily serve the same population. So while education and general awareness are an important objective of ours, it's really important that we help streamline the messaging to certain demographics who have previously shown low or slow to participate in the census. So those groups have been identified as the African American community, the Hispanic community, and our youth ages 0 to 5. So each committee, again, is comprised of organizations that primarily serve the same. For instance, if we have the African American community, then we're going to have NAACP, we have the Urban League, and other organizations that service that community. Same thing with the Hispanic, where we have the Hispanic Alliance and PASOs who are serving that. So it started with those nonprofit organizations. As we grew, it increased to municipalities joining on board, to various individuals and organizations, the faith communities, so different people, but we all share the same objective, to increase participation within our county. So with GC4, we are primarily focused on these communities, and we're focused on our local efforts. So we're trying to reach out to the community within the community so that we have familiar faces, we have familiar voices who are helping spread the word and help people shed some of their hesitation when it comes down to receiving something in the mail and wondering why they need to give their information. So I always start with, first and foremost, what is the census? I think it's really not a safe practice to assume that people are familiar and that people are comfortable knowing what we're talking about, because we do it on a day-to-day basis and we speak with so many people. But if you ask one person what is the census, they might not be able to tell you. So I always start with that message. And the census is no more than a count. It's a population count, and it's mandated by the Constitution since the first census in 1790. So the purpose of the census is to count each and every individual residing in the country once and only once in the correct place. Now it is decennial, which means it only happens every 10 years. So our last census was 2010. After we do this one, we won't have another one until 2030. So it's very impactful in that whatever data comes as a result of our participation, that lasts throughout those 10 years. So it's important that we keep in mind how significant that is. So the census is a population count. It's mandated by the Constitution, and it happens every 10 years. Now most people say, well, that means people are going to knock on my door. That's all I knew about it. I knew it happened every 10 years. I knew it was a count, and I knew it resulted in someone at my door. But it's so much more than that, and ultimately that follow-up only comes as a result of no participation. So let's talk about the second key message, which is this is the first year it's being offered electronically. So throughout history, we have only had paper questionnaires, and then we've had the in-person enumerators. This year is the first year that there is a website, and you'll be directed to that website once you receive a notification in the mail. You can go to that website and complete it online. The entire census probably should take you no more than 15 minutes. There are a total of 9 questions for the head of the household, and then there's 7 subsequent questions, or for subsequent members of the household, there are 7 questions. So you can do it online. You can also call a telephone number, which will also be given to everyone. There's a toll-free number to call should you need assistance, or should you prefer to complete it online. And then lastly, you will get a paper questionnaire during one of your follow-up notifications. So you receive the initial notification, which is actually already started. It began mid-March. You'll receive that via postal mail. If they have not, and they being the U.S. Census Bureau, has not received a response from your household, then you'll receive another notification about a week and a half later. That continues to happen for about 5 times until they start with the follow-up in-person enumerators at your door beginning the beginning of May. So I always tell people, if someone knocks on your door with the census, it's because you wanted company, because you had 5 notifications in the mail. So keep that in mind. So 1, census is a count. 2, it is now being offered electronically. 3, what does it mean for me? Why is it relevant? Why do I need to go tell you where I live and who lives with me? So I tell people money talks first and foremost. So completion of the census results in federal distribution of federal funding. Actually, it results in distribution of more than $675 billion. Now keep in mind that's over a duration of 10 years. So during that span, we're now talking of more than $4 trillion. And I don't know about you, but that is not a number that I often speak of. That's not a topic of conversation for me. So I tried to break it down to a more understandable level. And I said if every individual's participation resulted in, say, $2,000 to your community, that $2,000, say I reside within a household that has 5 people. So now that $2,000 times 5 is $10,000 that my household can now bring into the community if we participate in the census. Well, you take that family, multiply that by 5. So you have 5 families in the community of 5 people. That $10,000 times 5 is now $50,000 in my community. Over that 10-year span, you have $500,000. I don't know of any community within Greenville County or any other county within our nation, to be honest, that could not utilize $500,000. That money goes towards public funding. It goes to assist education, housing, anything for your seniors. So it's very imperative, again, that we communicate the importance of participation because it goes such a long way within our communities. So that's number 3, the importance of the federal funding and the distribution. Then we talk about the redistricting. The redistricting and the fair representation. So every 10 years, once we receive the results of the census data, that is based on population. So how many people do we have living in this area? Do we need to redraw the boundary lines to make it fair? So that's something to look at. Also, the House of Representatives, they receive seating for that based on population that, again, comes from census data. So since 2010, South Carolina actually received an additional seat in the House. So it's about fair representation and it's about redistricting. Another thing I mentioned is the safety and confidentiality. So it's really important to understand that we spend so much time and effort and energy trying to make people safeguard their information, hold on to what's private, hold on to what's identifiable, because of all the negativity that's out there, how people can use your information and not have your best interest at heart. So one of the things I like to tell people is that every Census Bureau worker takes a lifetime oath. And that oath is that none of the information they receive from your response is to be given to any other agency. So that information is only used for the U.S. Census Bureau. It cannot be sent to any court agency. It cannot be sent to any other governmental agency. So that's FBI, that's the Department of Homeland Security, that's anything dealing with immigration. Extremely important to understand, because while the census counts everyone, regardless of your age, your gender, your national origin, or your residential status, if you are not a citizen of the country, you may have some hesitation to put all of your information out there. Maybe you think that information is going to be used against you. So you can rest assured that the information is simply used to count the people in each county, in each state, so that we know which areas need the most support. So it's always important to understand that that safety and confidentiality is real. The U.S. Census Bureau makes it an extremely an extreme priority simply because not only are they taking an oath, but any breach of that oath is punishable by law. So that's 5 years imprisonment and a fine of $250,000. So it's a very serious deal. Just know that it's only used for data and statistical purposes. Lastly, I wanted to discuss the timeline and basically how we are going to go about getting the word out to everyone so that you can participate. Again, it began mid-March. You have those notifications that are sent to you before you follow up in person. April 1st is considered Census Day. So April 1st is just a way for us to nationally recognize. It doesn't mean that if you've not completed it after April 1st that you cannot. You actually have until the end of July. But if you're going to receive that information in March, go ahead and finish it, get it out the way, and know that you have successfully performed your civic duty. You have successfully given your community an opportunity to revitalize, an opportunity to sustain and survive, and you've done your part as a citizen or resident, within your community. So again, keep in mind that you count. Everyone counts. We all count. Our tagline is Greenville Counts, and you can go online to greenvillecounts.org. You can also follow us, and any modifications that we are making to our local efforts will be broadcast on our social media. So Greenville Counts 2020 is our Instagram, and then Greenville Counts on Facebook as well. So I hope that you've learned some information about the census. I hope that you've gained a little bit more comfort and familiarity with why you need to make sure that you're counted, and you share that with your community, starting with your family. And we look forward to seeing your participation in the 2020 census, especially here in Greenville County. Thank you.